Okay. So now the next topic here is human relations approach or Hawthorne experiments. The same topic has been explained earlier also. This is the second time this topic is repeated over here. So what is this Hawthorne experiments? It was an group of experiments which was divided into four parts. Group of experiments divided into four parts, which was conducted in a company known as Western Electrical Works in USA between 1924 and 32. And these Hawthorne experiments were considered to be one of the earliest study about organizational behavior. So the evolution of organizational behavior can be counted as formally started from during this human relations movement. So as I told you, this has been divided into four different stages. This experiment was conducted with the help of a scientist, that is a scientist known as Elton Mayo, and this is same thing what we had seen in one of the earlier lectures. What is this Hawthorne experiments? But once again, I'll repeat it over here. As I told you, it has been divided into four parts. The first one is known as illumination experiment. So what is happening in this illumination experiment? Here, they studied along with, that is the National Research Council, along with this company of Western Electrical, they conducted a study to understand or determine the effects of different levels of illumination on the productivity of laborers. Now, what is this illumination? Illumination means lighting condition. Okay, so the lighting conditions of the test group of workers. Test group means the people who were selected for conducting this research. So for the test group of workers, it was varying and it was kept constant for the other group of workers. Now they studied about the different levels of lighting conditions when the employees were working over there. They found that the productivity of the test group improved with improvement in lighting condition, and it also improved when the lighting conditions were not there. So the productivity, there were no changes in the productivity of the employees due to the lighting conditions in that workplace. So the researchers understood that something else was affecting the employees' performance over there. Just imagine a room where the lighting was varied. Sometimes it was dark light, sometimes it was dim light, such type of working condition. But what they understood is that this did not affect the performance of the employees. Then that is illumination experiment. Then there was relay assembly test. Relay assembly test, this is again conducted by person known as Elton Mayo and this group of people. Here, two groups of 6 female telephone operators, they were kept or they were made to sit in two separate rooms, and many things were tested. Number of variables were tested, like in one group wages were increased, rest period was given high, wearing length, work day and work week was shortened, and the researchers also acted as supervisors. They were given, they also allowed the groups to choose their own rest period and also to also to express their opinion in any other changes. Now, this was also observed. The productivity and morale of these two groups were observed. The researchers observed that even when the improvement in physical working conditions were withdrawn, productivity and morale of the group was the same. So physical working conditions, of course, is required, but without that also, the productivity of and morale of the group was the same. So they understood that some other factors like socio-psychological factors like small groups. Now this was a small group, 6 people, small informal group, then non-directive supervision. There was nobody to strictly control them. Then participation in work matters, means they had some sort of freedom over there. This was responsible for improvement in the productivity in that case. So again, what they're coming to understand, they're coming to understand that physical environment is required, but that is not the thing mainly responsible for the productivity of the employees. Then there was another, this is a third stage, mass interviewing program. Here what happened is that large number of workers were called, they were interviewed, mass interviewing, mass means a large number. They were interviewed to find out the reasons for increased productivity. They were told to give their opinion regarding this point. And this program indicated that when the employees are ready, or when the employees are actually given a chance to talk about matters which are important to them, then the productivity is increasing. That also shows that the employees should have some sort of freedom in the organization to express their opinion. Then came last experiment known as bank wiring observation room. Here also group of 14 male employees. They were taken, they were in that particular department section was taken, they were kept for observation for around 6 months. And a worker's pay was dependent on the performance of the entire 14 employees. So if they made it in such a way that the worker's pay was dependent on the performance of the group of the employee as a whole. So the researchers expected that more efficient workers will put pressure on the less efficient workers so that together they will be completing the work and the pay will be increased. But what was found out? It was found that the group themselves had their own standards and social pressure was used to achieve the standards of output. Group made their own standards and accordingly only they performed. So what do we understand from these experiments? The conclusions of Hawthorne experiments are mentioned given over here. It shows that the social and psychological factors are also important. Not only monetary factors like incentives, not only the physical working conditions are important, but the social, that is the mental factors like related to the mind, that is job satisfaction, giving a chance to talk about their problems, giving them or less supervising them, giving some freedom. All these things are also responsible for workers' productivity and job satisfaction. Then, informal and interpersonal relationships among the workers influence the workers' behavior rather than the formal relations in the organization. So, informal, we will see in the coming lectures what is informal groups, formal groups, and all. But informal groups means which is not laid down by any proper structure and all. Informal groups are formed due to, like, maybe we can say the likings of the people, similar interest of the people, maybe they might be having similar type of hobbies or anything like that. So this type of informal and interpersonal relationship are also influencing the workers' behavior. Similarly, they also understood that the employees are performing better when they are given freedom in decision making, like freedom to participate in a decision making process, especially in those matters which are affecting them. Of course, they need not speak about factors, speak about any things which are not affecting them, but like maybe the wages, salary part, maybe the working conditions, or maybe long working hours, or any such factors which are influencing the employees. In such cases, the employees felt better that when they are given a voice, when their voices are heard, or when they are given a chance to interact, the employees are performing better. Similarly, the employees also work more efficiently when they believe that the management is concerned about the employees' welfare, because they feel that a sense of security is there within the organization when the management members are ready to hear them. Same way, when the employees are treated with dignity and respect, when their performance is valued, when they are, we can say, appreciated in their work, that time also the performance of the employee will improve significantly. Then, effective communication between the superiors and subordinates can also improve the relationship and overall productivity of the subordinates, because effective communication, like without hiding anything, open and transparent communication between the superiors and subordinates, that will definitely work in making a good relationship in the organization and also will definitely improve the productivity of the employees. So there should not be any sort of miscommunication over here. There should not be any kind of hiding any kind of information over here and nothing like that, because they are all working together in the organization for the overall benefit of the organization. So from this conclusions itself, we can understand that the working conditions, the monetary aspects, and all are there, all are required for improving the productivity, but it is not only limited to this. Instead, the employee's mind also should be heard, whether they are satisfied or not, whether their morale can be increased or not, whether they can be motivated or not, whether they can be encouraged or not. These matters a lot in an organization, and these matters a lot in improving the productivity of the employees. And definitely when the employees productivity is increased, nobody else is going to benefit, the organization themselves are going to get benefit out of it. Then we can say that the earlier approaches did not give much importance to this human behavior, humanistic behavior and all of the employees. Rather, they all wanted the employees to work hard. They were all concerned with the high level of production given production or output from the employees and all. So this did not work out well. That is why this humanistic approach or human relations approach was actually gradually evolving. And they also try to integrate, or they also try to study about the relationship between psychology, sociology and all with management. And they understood that these are all interrelated, because in an organization we have people from different background. As I told you earlier also, each and every individual is different. Their background is different, their way of thinking is different. They may be today, they may be behaving in this way in particular situation, tomorrow in the same given situation they might be behaving in some other way. So each and everything is connected to the psychology of the people, the sociology of management, everything. So here they are focusing on management of people in human relations approach. So here we can say that human beings are not only interested in monetary gains, but also they need recognition and appreciation. That is, non-monetary incentives are also equally important. And workers should not be treated as machines. The earlier approaches were considering workers as machines, but they should also understand these employees are having their own feelings, their emotions. Accordingly, they should be managed. And not only formal relations should be there in an organization, but also informal relations should be there. Like we can see that most of the companies now encourage a lot of informal type of relationship. Like we can say arranging a small party in the office, celebrating birthdays in the office, going for an outing together. These are all helpful for developing informal relationships. So that is also equally important. Then workers also need job security and job satisfaction. Workers are expecting good communication from the part of the managers. And most of the organizations, we can say that nobody will be liking conflicts and misunderstandings. So the manager should see that they are sorting out all the conflicts and misunderstandings among the people. Workers should prefer freedom from strict supervision, and they should, like, of course, supervision is required. Otherwise, we will not be able to exercise any type of control on the employees, but they would prefer to work under supervision which is not so strict. That is what is mentioned over here. Trying to avoid strict supervision and control over the workers. Similarly, the employees also would be happy if they are getting a chance to participate in the decision-making process. As I told you, only in those factors which are affecting their interest. So all these are viewed from the humanistic point of view. Humanistic point of view means where they are considering human beings as human beings and not as any kind of machines or any kind of automation or anything like that. Human beings should be considered as human beings. Their values, or we can say their emotions, their feelings and all should be equally considered. Because as we know, human assets, human resources are the assets of any organization. How much we say that things are automated, things are becoming like robots, a robotic type of work atmosphere will be coming, automation will be taking over, all these things we can say. But behind these activities, we need human beings to work on it. We need human beings to start all these activities initially. Then only the automation and always work out in the further stages. So human beings, their feelings, their emotions, and all are equally important. This is explained in the human relations approach. So we can to an extent say that only after this, the earlier approaches were not focusing much on this type of humanistic features of human beings. Rather, they considered them as only for increasing the production, continuously making them working, even making them work for long hours, because output was more important. Number of production was more important. Nobody was concerned about the life of the people over there. But after this Hawthorne experiments and all, it was observed that there are many more things which were making an employee productive and motivated apart from the monetary aspects. As I told, monetary aspects are also required. Good working conditions are also required. but that doesn't mean that is the only thing which is making an employee satisfied. So organizational behavior studies about these things which are mattering to the employees, how these things can work in an organization. So we will be studying in detail about all these factors. We will be studying about groups, group decision making, different types of groups, how employees will be working in a group. As I told you in the earlier lecture, organizational behavior is concerned with the behavior of an individual, then behavior of an individual in the group, behavior of individual in that group and their behavior with the other group or the other team, then behavior of the individual overall in the organization. So that is why it is not easy to study human behavior. It is a very, very complex process, and studying human behavior, it is quite difficult also. It is like many times it all becomes a question mark, like why this particular employee is behaving in this way, or what can be done in order to improve this person's productivity, what can be done in order to motivate the employees to give their maximum. So all those things are studied under organizational behavior. It is, as I told you, part of, or it is having elements from various other disciplines like psychology, then political science. Political science, how it is relevant, because we will be studying about conflict management over here. Definitely when working in an organization, we can understand conflict is inevitable. Conflicts will definitely be there. Egoistic clashes will be there between the workers. There can be tensions around in the organization. So negotiations, conflict management, all are part of organizational behavior. Similarly, we will also be focusing on stress management. Stress management will explain the reasons. Stresses means those triggers which will make an employee or an individual stressful at work. So we will be also discussing about how this stress might have happened, sources of stress, and what are the techniques which can be adopted in order to overcome the stress. And all, because stress is something, a topic which is relevant every time. It is relevant, it was relevant yesterday, it is relevant today, and it will also be relevant tomorrow. So in this subject, we will be learning so many new things which are relevant for the employees, for the people. Why they are in the organization, what is their level in the organization, what are the different types of structures in an organization, structures in the sense employees working structure in an organization, which structure is ideal in which different type of organization. All these things will be covered over here. So once again, we can see what we had covered today. We had covered about this first one. First topic was about model, different models, starting with autocratic model, custodial model, supportive model, collegial model, and system model. Always remember the last three, supportive, collegial, and system, are more inclined towards employees side. We can say that that is more considered by most of the employees as favorable for them, because that is much more employee friendly. That is the best term, employee friendly. Okay, then Hawthorne experiments. Hawthorne experiments, again, it is actually coming repetitive, but still in detail you can go through this Hawthorne experiments, which was conducted in a company known as, conducted along with the company known as Western Electricals, which is considered as one of the base for research in organizational behavior and study of human behavior. Okay, so this much is enough for today. I think the concepts are clear for you. Why this is developed also, we should understand. This is developed because the classic approaches were not giving much importance to human beings. They were considering human beings as machines only. Okay, so I hope this concept is clear to everyone.